So you have a tryout coming up and you're nervous because you want to make sure you're not doing anything wrong or that you're avoiding the things that you should not be doing. Well, in this video, I'm going to be going over how you can stand out in a tryout and avoid those things that are going to potentially help you not make the team and start doing those things that will get you on the team. What up, guys? Dave here from SimplySoccer, where we release weekly soccer tip, technique, and training videos just like this one to help you improve your game and stand out on the pitch. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any new videos that we release. Now, I wanted to make an updated how to stand out at a soccer tryout video because I haven't made one in a while, and I want to give you some ideas going into your tryouts, which I know will be coming up, so that you have more chance of standing out and getting on the coach's radar so that he can potentially pick you for his team or her team. So the first thing you want to avoid when it comes to these tryouts is having a bad attitude. You know, one of the things that is going to turn a coach off so quickly, almost immediately, even if you're a good player, is if you have a crappy attitude. If you are quick to anger, if you complain every second when something doesn't go your way, if you give up every time you lose the ball, these things demonstrate to the coach that you have poor mental attributes, that this is something that you're going to bring into a team environment, and no one wants that kind of player disrupting the team atmosphere that they have going on, and no one wants that kind of player kind of rubbing off on other players in matches. So the first thing really to make sure you're not doing, and this is something you need to be working on overall, it's not just something you need to disguise and hide just for the tryout. I mean, overall you need to work on your attitude to have a good attitude. But if you come in with a poor attitude and demonstrate that you have a poor attitude and you give up and all this stuff, that's going to be immediately picked up by the coaches. And most coaches I know don't want those kind of players on their teams. So I just wanted to get that one out of the way quickly because that is one of the easiest ways to not get picked for any team, really, regardless of how good a player you are. The next one is another one that you have to get a handle on no matter how good you actually are, and that's your fitness. Because it doesn't matter how good a player you are, you could be the next Lionel Messi, but if you could only play for 10 to 20 minutes running at 100% before you tire out and you can't give it your all, you're not going to be selected. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're not going to be able to do the things you need to do, and the coach is going to take that also and look at you and think you're not that disciplined. Now, if you're coming off an injury or something like that, that's something that's understandable, and maybe you can talk to the coach about that. But if not, and you're coming into a tryout that you've known about months in advance and you're not fit, that's just going to look poor on you, and it's also going to make sure you don't perform as well as you can. So make sure you're preparing months in advance to the tryout. You want to be one of the fittest guys there, and there's really no reason that you don't turn up as one of the fittest people there. The only reason you wouldn't turn up that way is if you haven't prepared. You don't want to leave it to a few weeks before the tryout and then try and get in shape, because it takes longer than that. You want to be eating right, you want to be doing the fitness you need to be doing months in advance, so that when you turn up to the tryout, not only do you demonstrate to the coaches that you're disciplined enough to get fit on your own, meaning they don't have to get you into shape, they can focus on other aspects of the game if they bring you into their team, but also you can give your best performance at the tryout while other players are, breathing heavy, you'll be running rings around them. So make sure you're fit and in shape going into your tryout. This is probably one of the most important tips I can give you. Here's another big one that's such a small little tweak but can make a huge amount of difference is do not play out of position at the tryout. Look, you're trying out to make a team. If you're not playing in your strongest position, you can't show the coaches what you are going to do. If you're a striker, do not play left wing. If you're a defender, don't play center mid. That's not what you've been training to do, and you're not used to playing that position. You could be a player who would absolutely start for the team you're trying out for as a striker, but because you played center mid in the tryout and weren't able to show that you're actually an incredible striker, you probably won't make the team. And even if you do, they'll be thinking of you as a center midfield player. So do everything you can to play your position. When they ask, okay, who plays striker, and you're a striker, you put your hand up with authority and say, that's my position. And do everything you can to play in that position. If someone tries to get you to play out of position, calmly, but with, assertively say, sorry, but I'm actually a striker. I can't play that position. Now, if it comes down to it where, they actually make you play that position, of course, do the best that you can, but do everything you can to make sure you're playing in your favorite position, the position that you want to play on the team you're trying out for, because there's no point going to the tryout and playing left back when you're a center midfield player. You're not going to be able to show what you can do, and again, it's just not a situation you want to be in. So make sure you are very clear about what position you are trying out for. So this next piece of advice kind of follows up on that last one, and it's don't try and be a footballer that you're not. So the first part of that is making sure you play your position. So don't be a center mid when you're a striker. That's trying to be a player you're not. But it also means don't try and do things just because you think it's going to impress the coaches. You can emphasize your game a little bit, meaning you can be a little more selfish than usual so that you can demonstrate what you can do. But for example, if you're not someone who usually takes players 1v1 and that's not your game, don't suddenly out of nowhere make that your game in this tryout. You haven't been training to do that. If you're a tidy center midfield player who's really good at 1 and 2 touch and picking out passes, really show that strength to the coaches. Don't try and be Cristiano Ronaldo if you're not that type of player. Don't be that player who's shooting all the time if you're not that type of player. Really emphasize your strengths in the tryout. And I'm not saying, don't do the dirty work. Do the dirty work, but don't try and be a player that you're not. You've been training a certain way for a long time. It's not going to work out if you try and out of nowhere start doing elasticos and stepovers if that's not what you're used to doing. So essentially what I'm saying is just play your game and don't think you need to do anything special to impress the coaches. If you play your game and you play it well, they're going to be looking for many different players in many different positions. And if you can play your game the best, so let's say you're a tidy midfielder and you're the best tidy midfielder at the tryout, you have every chance of making the team. But if you try and be someone you're not, you try and be a type of player that you're not, there will be that actual type of player at the tryout which will blow you out of the water and outshine you. So stick to your game, play the best you can with your game, and don't be someone that you're not. Okay, so this next one is obviously easier said than done, but I think this is something that affects so many players that go to tryouts, is they put too much pressure on themselves and they panic. And again, coaches are going to notice this. A player who is calm and composed and confident at a tryout stands out almost immediately to the coaches because so many players around them are trying too hard or panicking or not playing their game. You want to remain as calm as you can and treat the tryout like you would any other game. You're taking it seriously, but you're not overthinking it. You're not, again, trying to do things that you wouldn't normally do. Remain calm and confident. And if you can do that, remain calm and confident and composed throughout the whole trial, that will be picked up by the coaches. And again, there are going to be players there who are nervous, who are making mistakes due to that nervousness, who are doing things they wouldn't normally do because of that. So don't be that player. Just be calm, relax, play your game, and do the best you can. And that's really all you can do when you go to a tryout. And final thing I want to leave you with, and it may not be a make it or break it piece of advice, but it can definitely help, and it's don't be quiet. I know you go to a tryout and you probably don't know any of the players, you don't know any of the guys, but that should not stop you from communicating on the pitch. Even if you're not a natural leader type, which you may not be, I'm not personally, but even if you're not, you can still communicate. You can still let your teammates know where the opposition is. You can still call for the ball. You can still be loud and make your presence known. Now, on the flip side of that, do not be loud just to be loud. That's just as bad as saying nothing and being quiet. Just screaming and saying things for the sake of screaming and saying things that actually aren't helping your team is just as bad. So don't do that, but don't be afraid to communicate, even if you don't know the guys. If someone's out of position, don't be afraid to be like, quick, get back to that position, or man on, or whatever. Don't be afraid to do do that. Don't be afraid to communicate with the players. All right, guys, so those are some things to make sure you're avoiding if you want to stand out at your next soccer tryout. And I gave you some things also that you can do. Now, I have made another video on basically things to do instead of things to avoid, which I will put up on screen and have links down below so that you can watch both of these and hopefully go into your tryout completely prepared. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and share it if you enjoyed it. Again, I will have two videos on the screen, one being that other tryout video for you to check out so you can be even better prepared going into your tryout. I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope it's helped. I hope you make the team when you go to tryout, and I'll see you in the next video.